I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode. Today, my guest is Theresa Benson, who you may know as the AI Quilter. Theresa has a new book coming out, which we're going to talk about in the episode. But also, she's just here to share some ways that we as quilters can use AI to enhance our quilting, not to replicate, not to copy, not to make it do the work for us, but to help us increase our abilities to be better quilters. So I'm excited to hear from her and hear what she has to say, and I hope you are too. So let's dive right in. Hi, Theresa. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad we could make this happen.
Oh my gosh, me too. It's a long time coming. I'm so glad to finally be here.
Yay. Well, you are Theresa Benson, also known as the AI Quilter.
I
So,
am.
as some people can probably guess, we're going to talk a little bit about AI. But first, before we get into any
Yes.
of that, I want to know how you even got into quilting in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. So it was an old man. Well, he seemed old to me. He was
Yeah.
probably younger than I am now, but when you're 20 something, everybody.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was it was a customer of mine actually.
Mm,
I was a young salesperson, newly out of college, living in Portland, Oregon. I have an engineering background, but I was in technical sales. Like I worked with
okay.
engineers and stuff.
Hmm.
And he complained about his employees to me. He's like, "Don't be like them." You know, um, they all whine that they don't get gold stars every day or at the end of a project or whatever. And by the way, I think every generation says that about the younger generations and employees and whatever. But
Yeah.
that aside, he says, Teresa, for 18 years, you have not known something, learned it, mastered it, gotten a gold star, and moved on.
Hmm.
You'll never have that again in your professional career.
Hmm.
That will not happen. If you're good at your job, let's say you're great at gathering resources and kicking off a project, you'll never see a project to fruition. You'll be brought in at the beginning of every single project and then pulled off. So you don't get that satisfaction. If you're really good at the middle part, holding people accountable, driving deadlines, doing all of the things, you'll be brought in to troubleshoot and crisis manage.
Yeah.
And then once things are under control, you're on to the next fire. And if you're better at the wrap up and the retros and the postmortems and everything like that, you'll
Hmm.
never get the satisfaction of the beginning and the middle bit and the dreaming and the goal setting.
Right.
You'll just do that stuff.
Hmm.
And so you need a hobby with a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, isn't that interesting? And Portland back then, and I'm sure still, but back then was a fabric mecca. Like there were amazing quilt shops in Portland, Oregon back in the late 90s. And
Hmm.
I met a woman about my age who was also a quilter.
Hmm.
And I had sewn clothing, but I had never made a quilt, didn't have family members who quilted, none of it.
Hmm.
And so she sort of took me under her wing. And the two of us 20 somethings would sit there and quilt while it rained outside in the wintertime. And it was
Yeah.
the best. It was the absolute best. I was horrible at it. I was really, really bad.
Yeah.
I was
I mean, who
like my
isn't?
very, right? Like my very first quilt, none of the corners matched. And it was just simple 5-inch squares, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
And you're a long armor. I didn't know that batting had ratings for how closely you need to
Oh,
quilt,
yeah. Hmm.
So I still have this quilt from like 1997, 98. And, it's there's no batting in parts of it because all I did was stitch in the ditch,
Yeah.
around all of these blocks. And I was drunk when I did that too, apparently. Not, you could see every stitch.
Yeah.
Nothing's in the ditch.
Yeah.
But that's how I started quilting. Was an
Wow.
old guy was cranky about his employees,
Hmm.
and I saw the logic of what he was saying and decided to try and got hooked.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome and so funny. Like, you never really know, like, people say things, but like, how was he ever to know that you would be here now based on what he said to you in a moment of
Right.
frustration, right? Like
Right.
him being like, listen, don't be like this, like, get a hobby, like, it's like,
Get a
oh, okay,
hobby.
give
Yeah, and
yourself
he
gold
was
stars
very
in your daily
specific.
life.
Exactly. Exactly. He was, probably like he had just had a performance review or something and was
Yeah.
pissed off because he didn't get a gold star. Plus, then he's got these new employees, and, a
Yeah.
moment of frustration for him became this new magical thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a real like sliding doors moment. You know that movie,
Mhm.
Sliding
Yeah.
Doors?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm grateful. I don't remember his name, but I remember the company he worked for. They made muscle stimulators like for physical
Oh,
therapy stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and I was trying to design in semiconductor chips into their equipment.
Hmm.
And now I quilt.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm like, it's so, it's just so interesting to like know who people are like behind their quilts because it's like, yeah, nobody, not nobody, I shouldn't say that. That's like very like extremist, but
Black and white.
yeah,
Yeah.
black and white, very like, I don't know. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but very like bookend black and white, like this or that. But it's like just so interesting because you don't necessarily think about a person's day job or like what they went through or the degrees they have or may not have or whatever when you're just like talking to them about fabric because that's all that matters in that moment. And then it's like, oh wait, but like who are you outside of that? Like what drives you and why is this your hobby kind of thing. And so it's just interesting to like
Yeah.
hear that like where people got to it. And it's so funny because it's like there's a lot I feel from my own experience, like I've run into so many people who have like a very like techie numbers analytical background that then
Oh
come
my
into
God,
quilting and they're
yes.
like, oh, I've never been creative. And I'm like, horseshit, like all that stuff is
Yes,
creativity.
that is
Numbers are
absolute
creative.
bullshit.
Yeah, data is creative, like expressions of data is creative, like it
Oh my gosh,
technology is so
yes.
freaking creative. Like, are you
This
kidding
is
me?
what, yes. So, people ask me like, why did you get an electrical engineering degree? You're obviously a teacher or whatever. And
Yeah.
and I wasn't allowed to major in anything other than electrical engineering. It was that's a whole nother drama trauma thing. But what's funny, what's the sneaky thing behind it that I don't think my mom realized
Hmm.
is that engineering is wildly creative. We went to the
Wildly.
moon
Yeah.
because of engineers.
Yeah.
Hedy Lamarr, one of the world's most famous actresses,
Hmm.
invented the encryption that is used for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and everything like that. Wildly creative, amazing mind, right?
Yeah.
Um, I got to be at the beginning of the iPod, and I met the inventor of the iPod and that whole team, and I worked with them,
Yeah.
and solved problems with them. And I mean, think of they had to look at what was, which
Hmm.
was, MP3 players were out before they made one,
Right.
and they had to imagine like, well, what could be, and
Right.
then go do it.
Right.
Right? So engineers, and you're right. I mean, think
Mhm.
think of certain billionaires' tax accountants. They're wildly creative,
Very, very creative. Wow. Never seen so much
right?
creativity. Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
still, and data visualization. I
Hmm.
mean, there are data scientists who figure out how to tell incredible stories with data.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, so many quilters who
Yeah.
are highly technical
Mm-hmm.
and all of the stuff, and they discount that part of their brain, and it's like, no, that's just what the world's told you. The
Right.
world has told you you're not creative. You're actually
Right.
insanely creative.
Right. It's a way to like, it's a way that our society, I think, has tried to reshape our conceptualization of like how valuable art is,
Hmm.
especially if it touches mostly women's hands, and a way to elevate the sciences and the, mathematics and
Hmm.
all that. Like, it's just been a very crafty way to say, be in these industries because we want to be able to continue to devalue what is typically women's work. And if we just call that craft and art, then we can say it's not as valuable. It's like, well, guess what? I use math every day. I'm doing complex geometry and you didn't even know it. Like, it
Exactly.
may be a
Yeah.
fabric, but it's happening. Like, what do you mean you're not creative? Like, what do you mean you're not analytical? Like,
Anybody who's
quilters
tried
who
to
say I'm
piece a
bad at math, I'm like, I cannot with
that
you.
is utter bullshit. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I can
Yeah.
tell you, 5/8, 0.625. Like,
Hmm.
I know all of the fractions, right?
Yeah.
As decimals, just in
Uh-huh.
the back of I can math it. But what I was going to say is, you want to talk about like wild geometry, piece a curve,
Yeah.
right? Like, and how you have to do flap on top, and it's all
Hmm.
going to work out, and you just have to trust that that
Hmm.
curve is going to come under the needle just fine and all match up. Yeah, no, it's total bull. Like,
Yeah.
unless you're some super famous architect, what is it, Frank Gehry with his curved and
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
structures,
Yeah.
uh, you know, you, I, yeah.
Hmm.
I would challenge anyone to pick up some of the more advanced patterns out there that we
Yeah.
as quilters, or I just took an EPP class, my very first one last week in
Ooh.
Texas.
Yeah.
And I would defy any just average Joe off the street to come into a fabric store.
Hmm.
And first off, the visual insanity, right? Like just all of the color and all of the different collections and all of the prints, and go through there and
Hmm.
pick out wildly disparate things from different collections, put them all together in a way that makes sense, but then throw an EPP on top of that. Be able
Yeah.
to look at the repeats in a print and
Hmm.
know how it will geometrically come together
Yeah.
in like a six-pointed star or whatever.
Hmm.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
No. Quilters, we have got it going on. Plus, we're freaking determined as
Yeah.
hell
Yeah.
because of all of the cutting and unsewing and
Mm.
resewing, and
Yeah.
like, we are we sit through the most tedious shit to get to the parts of things that we enjoy,
Yeah.
right? Not all of
Yeah.
us enjoy picking colors, but we
Hmm.
love the next part. Not all of us like cutting fabric. We enjoy the next part.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of tedium in quilting.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot of tedium in quilting.
Hmm.
And yeah, no, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
We as per usual, we have it going on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's so wild. And I just really enjoy when somebody's like, "Oh, I've been an engineer." I'm like, "Of course you were. Of course you were." Like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And I mean, I was a teacher, but I got my educational technology master's and I was like, trying to build learning apps and playing Minecraft and doing all these like video gaming type kind of things while quilting while and I'm like, "Oh, like I think as an educator, it was like more, I guess, quote unquote, accepted to say, yeah, I'm a creative person. Like,
Yeah.
like my classroom's colorful. My approach to teaching has to be creative
Well,
because I have to think of all different avenues to differentiate and be able to teach every child in my classroom. And
I was
Anyway,
actually, so you started to diminish, like, well, I
I
majored in
did.
education. Your physical, I majored in education, but I got a
Right.
master's in technical. You right there
Hmm.
just did what society wants us to do,
I
because
did.
teaching is another one that is diminished because it has
Yeah.
historically been female. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
We're all, you have 24 people in a classroom,
Hmm.
children, right?
Yeah.
Um, Different economic backgrounds, different learning styles,
Yeah.
different, like you probably have several neurodivergent kids that you've got to
Hmm.
reach in a different way.
Hmm.
You've got kids who have been let down by an education system before they came into your classroom. You've got
Yeah.
kids who certainly do not want to be there. And then you've got to teach them according to whatever your administration is saying is the flavor of the day,
Hmm.
right? Whether they're looking to get certain funding or whatever, so they want you to teach a certain curriculum a certain way because whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
If that is not also highly like
Yeah.
we celebrate people who go and study the human mind. We celebrate them with doctorates, right? Like
Right.
psychologists,
Hmm.
psychiatrists. You are dealing with 24 different minds
Hmm.
down here, and then all of this drama up here in the
Hmm.
administration. That is highly technical in and of itself. And then you have to come
Yeah.
up with lesson plans that will
Hmm.
get a little brain from not knowing to
Hmm.
learning and to mastery and to a gold star.
Yeah.
Come on. That,
Yeah.
no, don't for a second go, well, I got an education. It
Yeah.
is amazing when you really think about what educators do.
Yeah.
It's profound
It really is.
what is possible. You are drawing something out of these people. And I mean, I still, Mrs. Green was my kindergarten teacher. Actually, I think she was Miss Green. Miss Green was my kindergarten teacher, and I will remember and love her for the rest of my life because of what she gave me and the
Hmm.
experience that I had in her classroom that I wasn't getting at home,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't for a second.
Thank you for reminding me of who
No
I
problem.
am and that yeah,
It's magic what you do.
it's a
It's
lot.
magic.
And thank you. Yeah,
No. But
it was a
but it's
lot.
the exact bullshit that the society does
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I mean
It
it's just like
just,
nurses versus
right.
doctors. And yet
Yeah.
I guarantee you the nurses know more of what's going on,
Oh, for
you
sure. Oh,
know?
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that gets missed in all of it, no matter what you do, what your day job
Mhm.
is versus what your hobby is versus whatever, like problem solving is at the core of all of it. And that is where creativity lives, I think, is in seeing a problem. And it can be like your software broke, so you need to fix the bug, or you can't figure out why this block won't fit with this other block, even though you cut everything to size and you measured and you followed your scant quarter inch seam and blah, blah, blah. There's always a problem to be solved. And that's where the creativity, I think, spins around and lives. And they're like little vortexes
Engineer
that,
brains.
like,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
And oftentimes problem solving is incredibly tedious work, right? It's the scientific method to solve a
mm-hmm,
problem, right? You have a
yeah,
hypothesis. Well, let me try this.
mm-hmm,
Then you experiment. Then you see if it worked. Nope, it didn't. Okay, crap. Where's the seam ripper?
mm-hmm,
Right?
yeah.
And yeah, and I'm so glad to be here.
I'm
Yes.
glad you're here. Yes,
Yes.
it's it's always, yeah, like I said, it's just always so interesting to learn like where people came into this and why and how our brains wrap around it and what we use quilting for. Because I think so many people, it is a hobby, it's their way to de-stress, but we all have kind of a different piece of it that keeps us in it. Because like I hate cutting fabric,
Yes.
but do I still do it? Yeah, because I want the quilt that's in my head, that I picked all the fabrics
Yes.
for, because that's ultimately my favorite part, is pairing
Yeah.
fabrics and finding things to build the quilt, the aesthetic. And then
Mm-hmm.
long arming is my next favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
And so then to
And
like
you have to
bring,
get through the middle bit. You have
I
to
have
get
to
through
get,
the middle bit to get to the fun stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
For me, quilting, I would say, it's definitely transformed over time. My
Hmm.
relationship with it, as well as how it serves my psychological need,
Hmm.
and um, in the beginning it was, ooh, this tickles my brain in a new way.
Hmm.
It does satisfy that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna learn. And then to have a tangible finished thing is so
Right.
satisfying. Um, but I would say, in the last 5 to 7 years, it's really become so much more about expression,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
connection, than it ever was before. I belong to a couple quilt bees now. I let Sorry to my quilt guild. I accidentally let my membership lapse this last year because I was so busy with work. But,
Hmm.
I've belonged to quilt guilds,
Hmm.
and there is something in people coming together and just being and creating
Hmm.
together and chatting about whatever's going on in their lives, that it's that third place. Have you heard about this? First place,
Yes.
second place. It's a third place
Yeah.
quilt bees and quilt guilds that nurtures my soul in a unexpected and very good way. And
Hmm.
then, quilt shows, or when I get to go teach, um, that that again, maybe it's a fourth place, but
Yeah.
it's that other thing, that
Hmm.
moment of shared connection
Yeah.
that that you don't get in a transactional relationship like work,
Hmm.
or a transactional relationship even like therapy.
Hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, therapists are amazing.
Yes.
Take your medicine, do the things that are going to make you well mentally, but there is something about shared grief and shared joy,
Hmm.
that isn't from an intimate partner,
Hmm.
sharing happening in a larger community, that
Yeah.
quilting has also given me in a way that, other stuff I've done doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It can be, yeah, a home away from home of like, these people understand what I'm doing. I don't have to tell them. Like, you can tell them like, oh, I use this pattern or I use this fabric, and they're like, fine, but we want to just look at it. Like, they get it. So it's like,
They
you don't
get
have
it.
to like, well, like when I'm like showing my husband, like, look at this new quilt. He's like, cool. What am I looking at? And I'm like, the quilt? I don't know. He tries. He really truly tries.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but if I'm like asking him for input, or like, this is gonna be hanging on our display wall at some point, like I want you to like it. And he's like,
Hmm.
I whatever,
I
but if
trust you.
right.
I trust you. No, you have good
I'm
instincts. It's
like,
like, no, damn it. I want to connect with you on this thing.
right. I'm like, but this is for us, and it's like a representation of like something that we experienced together, a place we went, and I want it to feel like you can look at it and go, yeah, that's a place we went together. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And so I like, did what I did, picked the pantograph, quilted it, and then I showed him, and he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, is that different than you were expecting? He's like, kind of. But I was like, okay, but hear me out. Why? And so I picked this because of this and this. And he's like, oh, okay, I get it now. He's like, yep, that was perfect. It's
Hmm.
anyway, but it's like,
Quilters would get it.
quilters, I could just be like this and this, and they'd be like, oh, absolutely, that was the,
Yeah.
it and he was on board. I'm not saying he wasn't. It's just, and he
Of course,
literally is
it's
just like,
just
whatever
different.
you
It's
want to
just
do.
a
Yeah.
different, it's just a different thing. And,
Right.
show and tell, like,
Yeah. My favorite part.
one of my quilt bees, we do show and tell, and
Yeah.
it's goofy, but it goes back to the old guy in Oregon.
Yeah.
You never get a gold star. Well, guess what? Show and tell.
Hmm.
It can be a charity quilt that is rail fence blocks, right? Just
Yep.
very simple to, right?
Right.
Still, when you have a bunch of women gushing over that for that moment,
Yeah.
God, it fills up something. It
Right.
fills, yeah,
Right. Yeah,
it's
I'm with you. My guild, we do show and tell at the end of every
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun. Like I've participated a few times and it does feel really cool to like put your quilt up there and then have people come up later and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so
Ooh and
cool." Like,
ah,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So that I do love that part of it. And I can't always make it to the meetings, but like when I do, that's my favorite part. And like I will stay the whole time, even if I really want to go home, I will stay the whole time just so I can see show and tell at the end because I want to see what everybody else is doing. I want to be a part of that creativity and that participation of like, this is why we're here is to like show each other support and to build each other up and to
Build each other up. Yes.
give each other a space to come where you are understood and you are appreciated. And I can look at your fabrics and I can look at your design choices and I can look at your finished product and go, yeah, dude, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm super glad that you did that. And it's like, well, I didn't. I'm like, nope. I don't want to see your mistake. I don't want to know what you think is a mistake. I don't want to know what you find as a flaw because that is not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is seeing your vision has come to fruition.
Mhm. And
Your
yes,
ideas are now a well, living, breathing thing out
thing
in the
in the
world
world.
now. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
and I think it's so healing for some folks who struggle with perfectionism, struggle
yes.
with, those types of, hi, yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
it's me.
Hi, it's
Uh-huh.
me. I'm the
Yeah.
problem. It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um they I I know that when I was young, I didn't belong to a guild because I thought you had to be so good to join.
Oh yeah.
And if I could have, I would have done it 20 years earlier.
Hmm.
I have mad respect for the young women who are joining guilds
Hmm.
these days because
Yeah.
they're learning earlier that mistakes are just lies you're telling yourself. Because like think
Yeah.
about it. I firmly believe that certain quilt blocks like that happen to be riffs on previous quilt blocks, like even
Yeah.
in the lexicon of traditional quilt blocks or whatever. I think
Yeah.
some of them somebody accidentally turned something a wrong way and went, "Oh, that looks cool."
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
so these mistakes.
Hmm.
Look, if you're making a quilt out of love of the craft, or you're making it out of love for a friend, or you're celebrating a birth or a wedding, or mourning a loss,
Right.
that's what matters. Now, if you're doing it because you want to enter it in competition, right?
Right.
That's different. I
Uh-huh.
understand to focus on quote perfection, but it's
Right.
only perfection as defined by whatever the rules of that contest are. It's not,
Right. And it depends
but
wholly on the category too, because like where something might be kind of considered like sloppy or a mistake is actually the vibe of that category. It's like improv. Well, it's improv now.
I was just thinking improv. Exactly. Yes, it's improv
And you can't
now
tell me it's
or
not.
exactly. But seriously, like,
Yeah.
as I started getting into making quilt
Hmm.
designs for myself
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever, I started taking a closer look at traditional quilt blocks
Yeah.
and seeing how they've been tweaked. I started realizing, oh yeah, no, nothing is truly a mistake per se. Even
Right.
you go into a local quilt shop
Hmm.
or you go to a quilt show and you'll see points on half square triangles that are sewn
Yeah.
into the seam
Yeah.
because for whatever reason that other piece of fabric was too short and that's what
Hmm.
happens. And
Yeah.
no, we all do it and it's
Right.
okay. It's more about the overall.
Yeah.
It's the expression of
Yeah.
that person in fabric. That's why show and tell is so beautiful because that person can hold up this thing and they know every last problem with it. And they can experience acceptance and celebration for the effort because we all know the effort that went into selecting the fabrics, cutting the fabric, piecing the blocks, quilting the thing. You
Hmm.
know, you love long arming, which is amazing, but I'm always terrified. I get it all pieced, I get it all together. I've got my flimsy,
Hmm.
and I am so afraid that now I'm going to fuck it up
Yeah. Yeah.
with
It's
bad
it's
quilting,
real.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real fear. Like I still have it sometimes, but I think I'm I've done it so many times and I know my skills, like I'm really good at it. Even
Uh-huh.
and, and like I've talked about it before, like yeah, people are like, "Oh, you computerize edge to edge." Like that's not hard. It kind of is. Knowing the scale, knowing how to align it properly, knowing how to like stagger things and get the sizing and get the like
I swear to God.
the aesthetic. I'm like you can't
Yes.
you can't tell me like you've not done it, so you can't tell me that it's not hard. Like it's like when
You know
people
what? Oh,
think they
sorry.
can just
I
step
just,
into it. Yeah, I know. It's like when people think they can step into a career like, "Oh, I've helped in my kid's classroom. I can be a teacher." No, the fuck you cannot. Just because you've
exactly.
like sorted some papers doesn't mean that you can handle everything that is piled on you as an educator. We're not going to pay you enough, but we're going to expect you to do the jobs of 55 other people on top of the fact that you're still responsible for the curriculum and the content and making sure that every single child in your class shows growth. And that's on you.
Hmm.
And if it
And
doesn't
that's on
happen, we're going to
you.
blame you. We're going to point fingers at you. We're not going to hold the parents accountable. We're not even going to hold the kids accountable. We're going to point our fingers at you and you're going to get demoted. You're going to lose pay. You're going to lose benefits. Okay, great. Like, please tell me again that you can just step in my shoes because you sorted some papers for me. Like,
Exactly.
I will
Exactly.
punch you.
Well, it so it's so funny. I just recorded a video for a thing. And it's the modern witch hunt is what it
Mhm.
really is. Oh, you use computerized quilting. Well,
You're
you're
not a
less
real
than,
quilter.
you're whatever. You're
Yeah.
not a real quilter.
Hmm.
It's like when, cameras finally became affordable for not for everyone, but for like the upper middle class way
Right.
back.
Yeah.
Painters would be like, oh, that's cheating. You just
That's
press
not
a
art.
button and capture an image. That's, whatever. Well, I'm sorry, but my stupid iPhone photos are not Ansel Adams, nor will they ever be. He
No.
was a master of light and
Hmm.
exposure and all of these things
Yes.
that, but we all seek to diminish.
Hmm. To make
We
ourselves
seek
feel better.
and it and the fallacy is that somehow it is going to make us feel better.
Hmm.
But what I've realized for myself, and I am so completely guilty of judging others,
Me too.
diminishing others,
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here saying that I've never done that. In
Yeah.
fact, I had experiences last week in Texas where people I assumed were one way turned out to be entirely different. But
Yeah.
the thing is, the more we judge others, the more we start to realize, oh God, other people might be judging us. And then that
Hmm.
becomes perfectionism, that becomes shame, that becomes all of this other
Right.
garbage that is taking up space in our head. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. It's
Yeah.
really okay. It's really okay that people are doing things differently than you. It's
Yeah.
really okay that, somebody uses a color tool while somebody else just seems to know how to do it. It's
Right.
really okay to ask for help if you don't know how to sew triangles, which was me for the first 15 years of quilting. Like
Yeah.
we are all, coming at this walking wounded, and why add another wound to somebody else? What?
Right.
Why? Why
Why?
diminish
Right.
all over quilting?
Mm-hmm.
Why diminish computerized quilting versus hand stitching?
Right.
Why diminish, you know, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's AI. Why
Right.
diminish somebody who chooses to use digital tools as part of their process?
Right.
I
Yeah.
see a lot of quilters who use tools like Adobe Illustrator to design their patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And then Microsoft Word or Google Docs, which has built-in spell and grammar check.
Yeah.
AI, by the way, just a
Yeah.
heads up, that's
Yeah.
AI. They sit there and try to crap on someone who used AI as part of their design process,
Yeah.
like to create an image, and somehow they're better than that person when whatever they built, like they probably looked up a stock image. They Googled, what does a hibiscus look like?
Mm-hmm.
And then, sure, they drew a hibiscus, but it was based on an image that somebody else took, a
Right.
photograph somebody else took.
Right.
But somehow one is okay and one isn't. And
Right.
and there's just so much judgment in our stuff, in our
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Truly.
It
And I
makes me
think that's
mad.
like where the whole premise of this show came from. Is just the idea that like no, we have to stop, we have to break down this stigma that quilting has of like, oh, it's a hobby for crusty old ladies. And so many people are like, oh yeah, my grandma used to quilt. I don't, that's crazy. And then I'm like, yeah, but have you seen modern quilts? And then I show them, you know, if they'll let me, I force people to look at pictures of modern quilts and they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's not just that anymore. And like, there's nothing wrong with that because that's where we came from. Our origins are
Absolutely.
precious and sacred. And also now this is part of it.
Exact. It's the and. It
Yeah.
is the
It's
yes
not the
and.
but, it's the and.
It's not but, it's not or, it's not either. You
It's,
both can be true and valuable and good, and I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and honestly, like think of, I love to travel, and I go I would go to Poland a lot for work,
Oh.
the job that I had for the last couple of years, and
Hmm.
I look at some of those structures built with none of the equipment that construction crews have today, and I marvel at
Right.
these amazing buildings, which are frankly works of art.
Hmm.
And it gets me thinking about traditional quilters and traditional blocks, and hand pieced quilts that young women would make to put in
Yeah.
their hope chest for the someday when they got married or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And if we as modern quilters again seek to diminish what all
Right.
of that was in favor of this new shiny object over
Right.
here, well, then we're doing the same shit that every generation before us has done. Our way is better. Our way is the only way. Our way is, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
it is one. I always say, if you feel there's no room at the table
Hmm.
for whatever group, you
Right.
know, get a bigger fucking table.
Yeah.
That's your job. Get a
Yeah.
bigger table and
Right.
allow more people into the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's just like a closed-mindedness to the idea that like nobody can grow past where you are. Like, and
Mhm.
I think that that's like where that comes from is like a fear that you'll become irrelevant. So you don't want anybody, maybe it's not a conscious thought, but there's a fear that someone's going to surpass you and that you'll become irrelevant. And so you fight so hard to make your stance the only stance. And it's like, okay, but also and you hear it in politics, you hear it in social
Oh my
circles, you
gosh.
hear it everywhere. It's like my grandparents literally talking crap about um people who want their student loans forgiven, that they're just lazy pieces of shit. And I'm like, hello, hi, I'm your granddaughter who has a ton of student debt. And I would like some of my student loans forgiven because it's super predatory, awful, terrible behavior to ask 18-year-olds to sign their life away to debt that they're never going to be able to pay off. I don't know. Seems kind of crazy to me. And um, not that I want something for nothing. I put in my time. It took me a long time to get through school because I also had to work full time to support myself through college, which is why I had student loans, because I didn't have somebody to just pay for it for me. And it
Same
wasn't
here. Same,
back in
same.
my day, it was only $400 a semester. Congratulations. It's now $40,000 a semester. Or,
Yeah.
but
How's
that's a
that
lot.
football stadium? How's
Exactly.
that amazing football stadium? And
Right.
now student athletes can have sponsorships
Yes,
and all kinds of stuff.
exactly.
Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So it's like out
yeah,
there, right? Like, well, and I'm like, well, if that's the way we're gonna think, then we might as well just go back to living in caves, not having fire, not having clothes, not like we might as well just roll it all the way back to before we had civilization. Because if that's
yeah.
the way we're gonna think that nobody should have it better than we have it, we will never
Uh-huh.
get anywhere. And
I tell you what, the, God, my head is exploding. That concept of people don't want someone to, like learn and elevate past them.
right.
That is, you are so dead on. That is so true. There's
I
a
don't want to be.
jealousy that occurs. I
Right.
know, but
It's a
there's a
fear.
jealousy that
Yeah.
occurs. I
Yeah.
mean, think of teen rom-coms and like Mean Girls and stuff like
Hmm.
that, where the ugly duckling suddenly becomes popular or
Right.
whatever, and other people don't like it, and it's because you no longer fit whatever box that you've been assigned
Right.
in their heads, which, by the way, that's their own bullshit that's
Right. It's all
keeping you in
made
that
up.
box.
Yeah,
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
It's a status
I
thing. And
will
I
be
think,
thinking about this for a while.
I'm sorry.
And no,
You're welcome. I don't know.
yes, exactly. I'm sorry, you're
Take
welcome.
whichever
No,
one.
like that's beautiful. That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
It's definitely like a conversation that's taken place over years with me, between me and my husband, because we're raising these boys, and we're like, okay, how do we like hold them, give them high expectations. It's like we have high expectations of you because we want you to be good humans and teach them that it's okay for them to be better than us. Like we got this far with what we have and what we could do, and also please and thank you, go further. Please and thank you, like take what we are able to give, because this is what we're able to give as your parents, and please make it better. Like that's what we want. And if you can't, okay, let's figure out how you can. Like let's have that conversation. Let's brainstorm together. Let's problem solve together. That's our job, is to help you know what it feels like, or like know that you have what it takes within you to do what you want to do. And like,
God, that's beautiful.
and the two of us not really having grown up in that kind of environment, hence my grandparents talking shit about people who have student loans. You could help me out by paying for them. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, thanks, inheritance. Anyway, so I don't want my inheritance because that would mean that they passed on, and I don't want that. So,
No,
anyway,
no, no, no.
um, plus I'd have to go through my mom first, and that's not gonna happen. So, anyway, um,
That's a whole nother podcast. You
yeah,
know what? I have a podcast called Hilarious. You want to come on sometime. We can
yeah,
chat about all of that on that one.
let's do it. I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm game. Let's schedule it, because I
Yeah.
have also an I don't, obsession's a very wrong word, but I have a very strong interest in healing and growth and mental health.
Hmm.
And that is like the other side of like where I come at this stuff with. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I just see it over and over again that like people have a fear of their status being upended, and then the way that they have been shown and told is the way to deal with that is you make the other person feel like shit because that's how they were treated, right? And they don't, if they haven't done the healing, if they haven't done the work, then they don't know that you don't have to do that. You don't have to say anything. Like you can just say, wow, you worked really hard on that and be done with it. You don't, or you can just say no. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Anything at all, right?
And there's just so many concepts that I think just have been illustrated, I think, through the quilting world that for me, I've had to deal with personally,
Mm.
that I've had to heal through and grow through. And I still have issues. I'm not saying I'm perfect because Lord knows I'm not. Um, but I am who I am and I'm proud of who I am. And I think that like when you can stand on business and like be proud of what you have to present to the world, then like nobody can touch you.
Yeah.
And when,
Bigger dummies than us. You
yeah,
know, that's one of
yeah,
my favorite phrases is, there are bigger dummies than us out there doing the things that we've only ever dreamed of. And
right.
so,
There's like literally so many unqualified, mediocre white men ruining our country right now. What do you mean I can't make a quilt?
what?
Like, what do you mean I can't sew what I want to sew? Don't tell me that, Brenda. Like, I don't have time for your negativity. Like, our
Yeah,
world is
Brenda
burning
is.
and you're going to be mad at me for making a quilt that you don't like? Okay, sure. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Ugh.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's there is certainly, and that's another thing. Social media and media, like I almost want to call it personal media versus corporate media because,
Uh-huh.
YouTube channels and stuff, that's more of a personal
Yeah.
thing. Like there is such an expectation,
Mm.
thinking about the boxes that we put people into, that's how
Yeah.
they are, that's who they are. There's such an expectation that we are going to deliver like in the way that one person thinks it ought to be done.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, hang on. Hang on.
Yeah.
Yes, there is hyper personalization when it comes to e-commerce and everything like that. But guess what? I am presenting myself.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I'm growing in my craft or in my profession or in
Yeah.
my podcasting,
Yeah.
career or whatever. And if you don't like it, there's 97 other million other places that you could go, but you don't have to stay here. And and
Yeah.
and I'm not making you.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
really okay to keep going
Right.
and allow me to either stay where I'm at and be the person that I am right now
Mm-hmm.
or the person that I'm evolving into.
Right.
And I don't need to bend. I don't, I will
Yeah.
find my people
Mm-hmm.
and my people will find me
Right.
if I stay true to that through line in me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the that like concept that like I owe you something because I put my face on the internet is so wild. And so like and it's with anybody, right? Anybody that puts out content, anybody that creates music or art or anything that they're putting out into the world, all of a sudden strangers feel like they have the invitation to have expectations of what I do and create with my content and with
Mm-hmm.
what I am doing. So and I'm saying I as like this is how it is just for
Yeah.
everybody, right?
The royal
Everybody,
eye.
the royal I, everybody who's putting stuff out, right? So but if I or you or any other content creator was always only doing what everybody else was doing, what is the point, right? The whole idea is to have different perspectives, to show different points of view, different experiences, different, levels of emotional maturity, different levels of, actual maturity, like different levels of, how traveled someone is and how not traveled someone is. And it's like it, someone choosing to share their experience on these platforms is like, it's just that it's their experience and they don't owe you anything, right? And I feel like so many people have worked to create an image of themselves, and that's fine. Like, I think we all have this like vision of who we want people to think we are. And
Mhm.
that's what people, I think, try to put out on the internet, but then something happens and the real selves show, and then that can be kind of messy. And so I think for
That's
me,
where that's where addiction and shame and
yeah,
guilt can live
yeah, exactly.
in that gap
Hmm.
between who a person presents
Yeah,
versus who they are when no one's looking,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
That and
yeah.
people walk around with this, if you really knew me, you
Hmm.
wouldn't like me very much, so I've got to keep on performing. And so it's nice
Right.
to meet someone like you trying to put out something authentic and
Yeah,
self-aligned.
yeah,
But then there's the friction of expectation.
right. Right. And like I know I'm gonna fall short for some people, and that's fine. Like I think if anything else, like making a podcast has been the single most, I shouldn't say that. I have been in a lot of therapy, but I've had to look at myself and listen to myself for hours and hours
Sister.
and hours. I had to, nobody forced me. I could have stopped at any time, but I enjoy this part so much, this
Hmm.
conversation,
Meeting people and
meeting
yep.
people, learning about people. I'm curious. Like, I want to know, like, yeah, anyway. So that part of it has been a really big driver. I'm not going to give it like most best. I'm not going to qualify it that way, but
Yeah.
or quantify it that way, but it's been a really big piece of me learning to get comfortable with myself and me being okay with people not liking me. Because as a recovering people pleaser, it has been very difficult to put this out there and then say, do you like it? And then when it doesn't get as much attention or it hasn't grown as fast as I'm like, where are my millions of subscribers? No, I don't want that. Honestly, the more I learn about what people have, the larger they grow, the faster they grow, the harder it is to manage like dealing with the trolls and people who are there just to like be contrarian,
Antagonists. Yes.
antagonistic, right? Like I very had very few, and I'm grateful for that because I don't deal with it well when it happens. It hurts my feelings,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm
Yep.
just a girl making a podcast because I'm a professional yapper, and all those times that I was told I talk too much, well, guess what? Now I'm getting paid to talk, okay? So take that compliment and be proud of me for it. Okay. But it's just like such an interesting, it has shifted my perspective so
Hmm.
much. And I think that like perspectives in the quilting world are shifting, but also there's still people trying to hold on to their ways, right? Or the way that they got famous, or the way that they got into it. They're like, well, I just want it to stay that way because they know that's what they know. And that's okay. Like, you're allowed to be scared of the future. You're allowed to be a little bit hesitant to jump on new trends and get with the way that things are evolving. But like, you can't shit on other people for going in that direction.
Exactly. And honestly, I do think there's a shame slash fear slash jealousy that occurs
Mm,
when somebody does seem to um, leap ahead
yeah.
in a on
Yeah.
a path that somebody else who is famous or
Hmm.
whatever uh, when they don't have to struggle in that same way, there
Yeah.
is a jealousy almost. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's the only thing that I can think of that keeps stuff like hazing
Hmm.
around, like every cop show,
Yeah.
if there's a rookie, they're always getting hazed and made fun of. Every, depiction of Greek life in
Hmm.
university often involves some sort of hazing, and it's this compulsion.
Hmm.
Hey, if I had to go through it, you have to go through it, right?
Right.
And it's
I'm
like,
gonna
actually,
put
no. Just so you know, no, you don't. It
right.
doesn't have to be like that.
Right. Right.
It you struggled through it, so maybe I don't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe you struggled through it, learned, and can instead use your experience to lift someone up so they don't have to experience it that way.
Right.
But people forget that that's a choice.
Right.
They
Right.
they're like, and this jealousy sets in, this
Hmm.
fear and this shame and this jealousy. Like, why didn't I see that I didn't have to go A, B, C, D, and there was actually a shortcut A to D? Why didn't I see that? Why didn't I,
Right.
that's where the shame comes from.
Yeah.
Or they remember their struggle between A, B, and C, and somebody else goes A to D and they're jealous,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
awful. It's awful. But I have to have compassion for those people too.
Right.
Oh, you just didn't learn that you don't have to be like that. You didn't
Yeah.
know that all
Right.
of this is just getting really like deep for a second, but all of this is just a fucking construct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that we assign meaning to, we assigned the meaning to, or we
Exactly.
accepted someone else's meaning and
Hmm.
made it our own meaning.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
that,
Truly. Absolutely. It's like and I have to have that conversation with myself constantly. It's like, oh, right, this only feels this way because I decided that this thing means more than it actually does. Like, especially when it comes to like, reading other people's behavior or trying to understand like where I stand with them. And that's a very big, like, that takes up a lot of my
mm,
brain space sometimes, which is so
yes.
annoying. But it's there and I have to deal with it. And it's like, oh, that person, and I'll say something, sometimes I'll be like, I can't get this thing out of my head. This is how I feel. This is what happened. This is how I feel about it. And I know that there's a disconnect because I'm applying, like I'm making an assumption that this person had this intention when I don't know that that was the intention. And I can like logic my way through it, but I'm still like, fuck that bitch. Like,
Yes, yes,
and then
yes.
I have
And
to eventually
even
let
once
it
you get
go.
through it, there's like the hangover. It's kind of like when you
Yeah.
wake up from a dream and you can still sort of feel the dream. Well,
Yeah.
similarly, you can go through that whole thing and for a while be like, fuck them.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
through it, but there's still that little hangover of
Like
fuck them the
looming.
next time you see them.
Yeah,
You know what
like
I
right.
mean?
I
Like,
forgot I'm not mad at you.
oh
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
awful, but you mentioned about speaking it out loud. That's actually been one of the most magical things about my relationship with my better half, Joel,
Hmm.
is that very early in our relationship, um, I started speaking out loud all the bullshit lies I was telling myself, about our
Hmm.
relationship, about him.
Yeah.
I started asking him, hey, can I tell you what I'm thinking right now? I know what I'm thinking likely isn't true, but can I
Hmm.
say it out loud? And he's like, sure. And so I would say whatever it was out loud. And the moment it was out of my mouth and expressed,
Yeah.
like the sting was gone a little bit. And then when we
Hmm.
talk it through, and he has a remarkable ability to listen with compassion and
Hmm.
some distance, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Um, and still love me through this completely irrational bullshit thought. God, there is something to that, you
Yeah.
know?
Truly.
And so then the next time something similar comes up, maybe he's not around, but I can reflect on that experience I had and, get through it a little bit faster.
Yeah, for sure. And my husband is very similar. It's like, I mean, from the get, like he's a little bit older than I am, and so like me being this like young adult kind of like coming into this relationship with him, he's like, I've been through it. Like honesty always, like even if you think it's going to hurt my feelings, I don't care. Like I cannot deal with a relationship that isn't based on honesty. And there's a difference between like, well, I'm just being honest, like spewing every thought,
Oh yeah.
or saying like, I had this thought and I'm curious about like, is this true in any way? And am I like, can you help me understand why I'm coming to this, you know? And after 17 years of that, it's like, oh, I finally have learned for the most part that it's okay. Like it's okay to be honest in and kind. Like kind is different than nice. Honest, like clarity and honesty is always kinder and more loving than just like placating somebody so you don't hurt their feelings. Like I'd rather somebody tell me there's spinach in my teeth than let me keep talking. Like I'd rather suffer that 2 seconds of embarrassment than
Mhm.
realize later and then be so embarrassed for the rest of eternity for all time. And I can never get that
Face.
experience out of my
Yes.
brain because now, oh wow, that person's gonna leave having known I had a huge piece of broccoli in my tooth and there was nothing anybody did about it. Like love me enough to let me be embarrassed for 2 seconds versus for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
it's kind of that
Yes.
idea of like I know I think a certain way. I know I have patterns of thought and I know I have to disrupt them. And the only way to do that is to say it out loud because otherwise they spiral and they get ugly in the dark
Yes.
because they thrive in the dark. And to shine a light
Secrets
on
thrive
it
in the
by
dark.
putting your
Absolutely.
words out into the universe, it's like, oh, that was silly of me. And
Oh,
yeah, like
yeah.
saying it out loud.
Big
Um,
aha moments. But
yeah,
you mentioned about like the checking and that almost like extra sensory thing of
yeah,
how is somebody responding to me? How is this? How is that? That's also a huge superpower that some people just don't have.
yeah.
It can serve you well and has served you well. You have an incredible podcast.
Thank you.
You bring out such unique things. No, you bring out such unique things from the guests that you have. And I I think some of our damage and some of our well, everything that has happened to us informs who we are.
Yeah.
And I think you've done a great job transforming some of those parts of you
Hmm.
into something that can serve other parts of you and attract, you know,
Yeah.
uh, people who need to hear what you have to say. So
Yeah.
good on
Thank
you.
you.
Good job.
Thank you for saying that because it's been a labor
Absolutely.
of absolute love and adoration for quilters and other makers and people who help shift the consciousness of the community because I think that's where innovation in the future of quilting lives and being open to the fact that like we all got here somehow. We all love this thing for some reason and if we can all find that commonality of like we all just want this thing to survive. We all just want this thing to be something that we're looking back on in 300 years and going, "Whoa, look at the evolution of this." Like, right?
Exactly.
And that it's still
Yes.
around and that it's still being done and that it's still a part of the zeitgeist, right? Like
Hmm.
ultimately that's all I want, you know? All I want is to be able to engage with other people who are interested in the growth of what happens next. And I have to be able to do that for myself too, offer myself the grace of growth and offer myself the grace of yeah, I'm a person and I say shit sometimes and I go, oh, whoops. And sometimes I edit it out and I hold on to that and I remember it because I had to save myself from myself, you know, but ultimately like we're all just people. We're all just like you said, we're all a sum of our parts and sometimes you can heal those things, but it always lives in you. It always lives
Always.
within your body, within who you are as a person. And so it's knowing about how to maximize that. And like, yeah, my perception of like being able to feel people out, like vibe check, whatever, it's because I've got complex PTSD. It's because I was
Exactly.
traumatized as a child and I had to know and be
You
aware of my
had to know.
surroundings at all
Yes.
times. And so now I can read a room. Me and my husband both are like, whoop, we got to get out of here. It's like we
Oh
can
my
just
God.
know, or we
Isn't
just are
it
like,
weird?
we'll
You can
both,
I can feel it.
yeah,
I can feel it
my
off of
body
people.
shifts and I'm like, I don't like
Oh my
this.
God, I can
Yeah,
feel it. And
yeah,
Joel, my better half, like
yeah,
I'll we'll be driving sometimes and I'll go, "What were you gonna say?" And he goes, "How did you know
uh,
I was gonna say anything?" And I'm like, "You
yeah,
breathed differently." And he'll be like,
yeah,
"That's
yeah,
so weird." Like it just
I
and
know.
but
Mm-hmm,
CPTSD
mm-hmm.
is
It's wild.
it is wild and
She's her own beast.
multifaceted.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Because it's not
Oh.
just like, oh, this one event. It's like, nope, all these teeny tiny precipitating events that happened over years and years and years and years.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you can't pinpoint just one thing. That's what led to this. That's what led to
I'm
this.
just a
Like,
totally, I wonder, totally that like this is off the wall. Feel free to cut it, leave it in, whatever. But I wonder if like way back
mhm,
when like seances and mediums and all of that were all part of it. I wonder if a bunch of those people
yeah,
were just people suffering from CPTSD and could read a room, read the
probably.
people,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
got a sense of who these people were just
Uh-huh.
by chatting with them and
Right.
probably observing them over the course of a night. I'm thinking of like in the
Mm.
20s, a
Yeah.
Great Gatsby style party where they bring
Yeah.
in somebody for fun, right?
Yeah. And some
Hmm.
people are so obvious and they just don't know it because they're so
They
unself-aware.
telegraph exactly who
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
interesting. That's an interesting idea.
You
I
know what
haven't
I
even
mean?
thought about
I
that
wonder
because I do. I'm
because
like, I'm witchy because I can like, before I knew how to name it or before my therapist was like, wow, you are traumatized. And I'm like, what, me? Yeah. I'm like, oh, my
no.
intuition's so strong. I'm an empath, like whatever. Like we have all these other names for the fact that like, nope, you just never ever felt safe in your body anywhere you were ever. So you were always on high alert and you are so hypersensitive to what everybody else is doing so that you can protect yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um and my husband and I are very similar in that fashion. So we will just like feed off each other's like he'll breathe word and I'm like, what? And he's like, what? I'm like, you took a weird breath. And he's like, okay. Or like we'll be driving or we'll just be hanging out and he's like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, nothing. I don't know. Cause my brain's always just like, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I just thought this. And he's like, well, if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I'm like, what are you talking about? But then if I like actually think about it, a lot of the times I'm like, oh, something must like the way I thought about this thing must have shifted the energy in the room because he was like, what did you just think? And I'm like, what? And
Uh-huh.
this is psychotic, but there have been times where I was like in one, like the front room of the house, and he was all the way back, like in the bedroom. He was taking a nap, and I was just like chilling on the couch, crocheting. And I literally had a thought, and he came out into the kitchen and was like, hey, did you just ask me this? And I was like, I literally
I
thought
am
it
telling you.
in my head. I
Yes.
thought it in my head. And he was like, I
Yes.
heard it. Like, I heard you say that out loud. I was like, I swear on my life, I thought it in my head. I did not say it out loud. And he was like,
I'm
oh my
telling you.
God. Yeah. So, anyway,
I
anecdotal or
think,
not.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have talked about so many other things, but I do want to talk about your new book, your new book that's coming out.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
let's talk about your book.
okay. Yeah. So, my book is released.
Okay.
It's a slow burn sort of release, partly because I was so tied up with other stuff
Hmm.
for a while. And then I
Hmm.
finally realized, oh, hey, Teresa's mental health isn't doing so good.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I've pared back to the stuff that I really love, which is,
Hmm.
quilting and helping others with technology. Yeah, so I wrote a book.
Yay.
It's been a lifelong dream of mine. And I actually put in the foreword a dedication to my younger self, that
Oh,
I'm sorry it took me so long to remember your dream.
yeah.
And
Oh, that's gonna make me cry. Ah!
yeah, because in Sister Alberta Ann's second grade reading class, um, one of the things that she did, going back to people who, this is just her curriculum, I'm sure, and what she did and whatever, but one of the things that she did was instead of just reading books, she had us write books. And then
Oh.
we illustrated them, and then we got them laminated, and we got the comb binding, the
Hmm. Oh
plastic comb
yeah.
binding, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've still got Harriet the Talking Horse, which was the
Oh,
book I wrote.
shut up. That's
I
so
should put it
cute.
up on Instagram or
You
something.
should. That's so cute.
Yeah. And she was so, what I remember at the moment was she was so proud of being able to spell the word encyclopedia. And really, it was just I was very proud. And so Harriet needed to,
Yeah,
whatever.
of course.
But
Of course.
I've always wanted to write a book ever since then. That scratched an itch.
Yeah.
And I wrote a sequel called Ollie the Olive
Oh,
because I mean, come
why
on.
not?
Who doesn't who doesn't want to read a book about an anthropomorphized olive
I do.
named Oliver,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
naturally.
who's
Yeah.
friends with a horse? Because
You can do anything
look,
you want. Why. That's the
that's
because.
why.
Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, I remember when I was living in Oregon and I had the talk with my manager at the time, and
Hmm.
what I realize now as an adult who and an executive, um, oh, he was having the career track talk, trying to figure out
Oh,
what path I needed to go on at the company I was with.
sure.
And he's like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I'll never forget it. We were driving along, and I go, "I want to publish a book." I was in the semiconductor industry as a salesperson,
Yeah.
and he was trying to figure out, are you regional manager potential at some point, right? I
Right.
kind of failed that shit.
He was like,
But
wow,
here
you need
I
to. Yeah, yeah,
am. Yeah,
exactly. Oh my gosh.
but
I
here I
love
am.
that. That's so
Yeah.
exciting. So, remind me of the title again.
It's called Digital Muse,
Right. Okay.
and it's about bringing AI into your creative process. So it's written from the perspective of being a quilter, but it's not just for quilters. It's
Hmm.
really for anyone who creates, whether they're writers or
Yeah.
whether they're digital artists, graphic designers,
Hmm.
and especially quilters. It's it's broken into two parts. The first part is what I consider, so speaking to an educator,
Right.
um, you know, the thing that I do love about the classroom and about my school experience is you had to learn this before you were allowed to learn that. Like you had to
Yeah.
learn that if Jane has two apples and Mary has two apples and Jane gives Mary her apples, how many apples does Mary have, right?
Yeah.
You had to learn that. You had to learn math using shapes and blocks and whatever
Hmm.
first. And then, and only then, were you allowed to do multiplication. And then only after you knew that, 8 times 8 is 64 or whatever, like only after that point, then could you use a calculator. Because if you
Right.
don't know step one, how do you know if step two is right? And if you don't know step two, well, then if a calculator, you type in 2 + 2 = 5, let's say you bought it on Temu. And, you get this calculator and 2 + 2 = 5. Well, if you don't know the fundamentals, then
Right.
how do you know if you're getting a good result? So the first part of the book I break shit down in really, really plain language. Like, what is AI? And
Yeah.
oh, by the way, AI has been around for 75 years. And so then
Yeah.
I go over the literal history of AI, but it's not boring. It's
Yeah.
actually really cute and
Mm.
visual.
Oh,
Maybe I'll give
nice.
you a screenshot so people can see what it looks like. But
Yeah.
I put these different innovations in the context of world events so people can
Okay.
kind of really ground themselves in, oh,
Hmm.
this really isn't new.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, how I get to the grocery store is AI?
Yeah.
Oh, I care about my FICO score. Oh, wait, FICO scores are calculating using declarative AI?
Hmm.
Huh, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
ground it in anecdotes and analogies that are approachable, like
Hmm.
how machine learning is very similar to reading a picture book to a child.
Hmm.
And then, you teach a child what dogs are, right?
Hmm.
And they learn every type of dog, basset hound, poodle, whatever.
Hmm.
What do they all look like? But then if you take them to the zoo and they see a hippopotamus, they're like, that is a weird looking dog.
Yeah.
Right? If all
Yeah.
you do is teach a child this,
Yeah.
right? And then you set them loose in the world, they're not going to know how to relate to it because they don't have enough data. You haven't trained them with enough data.
Right.
Similarly, that's how bias creeps into AI models and,
Hmm.
let's be honest, society and
Yeah.
politics and all the other, you
Our
know,
lenses. Yeah.
our lenses, right?
Hmm.
Um, Growing up, I went to a school with only a few families of color
Yeah.
in the middle of Iowa, right?
Yeah.
And
Idaho's very similar.
yeah, hello. And
Very
so,
white.
yes. And so, fortunately, I had, there are plenty of faults with parents, but there was also beautiful, good stuff. And one of the amazing things about my mom is she was very, um, like open
Mm.
and made sure I had experiences with people of different abilities, with people of color, made sure I had friends from, you know, every side of the tracks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so as a result, I have a larger perspective of what society can be like. Well, similarly with AI, if you
Right.
only train a model on this much data,
Hmm.
and then you ask it to predict something that is well outside that, well,
Hmm.
it's going to give you a horrible response, or
Right.
it's going to perpetuate a bunch of bias that's built into the data you gave it.
Right.
And so I go over all of that first because
Okay.
if you don't understand that stuff, and it's more approachable than I might be making it sound right at the moment, but if you don't understand that stuff,
Yeah.
then the first time you sit down to use AI in whatever
Hmm.
form, you're going to be disappointed. And the
Yeah.
10th time you use it, you're going to be frustrated. And you may either give it up and become part of the anti-AI camp,
Yeah.
um, or, you'll listen to the tech bros who populate Instagram with, AI is amazing and
Right.
godlike, and start feeling bad about yourself because, well, why can't I make it work that way? And
Yeah.
so the whole first half is to help you understand why it works like it does. And then the back half is, now that you understand that, here are like all of the fun things you can do, and here's how you can wield things ethically and responsibly
Yeah.
so that you can get the outcomes that you want
Hmm.
from a place of purpose and intention.
Yeah.
And, all throughout the book, I talk about sort of checking in with yourself. Like, look, if you're just trying to mimic somebody, like everybody's probably seen the Darth Vader rapping and the,
Yeah.
stormtroopers complaining about Darth Vader when he's not looking, whatever.
Hmm.
Okay, fine. That's somebody who wants to mimic and mock Skywalker
Right.
Ranch and what's his name? What? Lucas, George Lucas,
Yeah.
right? That's not necessarily them creating from a truly organic, like I have this idea in my head that I can't get out because I don't have the ability to draw or, you
Right.
know,
Right.
um, if you're coming at creativity from a place of truly creating, it's coming from you and you want to get
Hmm.
it into the world and you need assistive technology to do so, my
Yeah.
book is perfect for you because I teach you how the technology works and then you can explore your blind spots and the
Hmm.
things that you want. And then the whole back half of the book is how to get you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's so interesting. Yeah, I know like there's a lot of big feelings and big thoughts about AI, and I would be remiss to pretend like I didn't haven't used it because I have. I
Yeah.
think I think it can feel frustrating um that like every app, every search engine, everything that we use in our daily lives that we've been like now conditioned like you have to have all these things are now being like, now use this AI feature. It's like, what do you mean? I like don't even know how to use this as it is because you keep changing it and now you want me to use AI? Like, what do you mean? So that
Hmm.
yeah, for
It's
me
being
has felt
shoved at
right.
us.
That can feel frustrating. It's being shoved at us without us knowing what it's supposed to do for us. And there's there are real environmental ramifications of how frivolously it can be used. Like it's not Google, my friends.
Absolutely.
Like you got to still use your brain because I think that's another thing is like it's being shown that people who use it as Google and use it with bias because they're not using it properly
Yeah.
are getting dumber. They're
They're
getting
getting dumber
they're getting
or
simpler.
they're getting simpler. It's also a reinforcement mechanism.
Yep.
Um, and really horrible, terrible, terrible things are happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a young man died by suicide,
Yeah.
prompted
Yeah.
by the conversations he was having with an AI model.
Right.
And, so there is an immediate backlash of, well, then all AI should be banned.
Right.
This is horrible. It's the company's fault that this happened. And, um, he was a minor. Um, he had access to technology in his home.
Hmm.
Um, and he wasn't educated about it. I'm sure his parents didn't understand that, these consumer facing platforms, just like social media, just like news,
Hmm.
they are consumer money making platforms. And
Yeah.
the whole goal of any software is to be useful enough that you want to keep using it.
Hmm.
Some of them are certainly highly addictive, right?
Hmm.
When blackberries were popular,
Yeah.
people would talk about phantom buzz syndrome, which
Hmm.
was a lot of people left vibration on their blackberries and would keep them in, men would keep them in their pockets and
Right.
they would find themselves checking their phone constantly, thinking that it had buzzed and it hadn't,
Yeah.
because there's an addictive quality to these different pings and
Right. You're being
notifications and everything
stimulated.
like that.
Yeah.
And with generative AI, and especially the chat-based generative AI versus making API calls and some of the other stuff that you can do,
Yeah.
um, almost all of the responses will end with something, maybe a question
Hmm.
to get you to interact with it one more time and
Hmm.
to get you to interact with it one more time and to keep you captive to the conversation and to that platform
Yeah.
because that's how that company makes money.
Right. The
And
more you, yeah.
the more you use it, and so people rage at that,
Hmm.
right? They rage
Hmm.
at that, but it's a business.
Right.
It is a product. That is
Yeah.
software.
Yeah.
And, you know, it maybe I come at it because I am a product leader. Like I
Hmm.
develop software, I develop hardware products and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe I have a slightly different perspective, but
Hmm.
I think about, you know, 5, 6 years ago, I put a needle straight through my finger.
Yeah.
And then, I was so startled by it, I pulled my hand away and it this is awful, but it ripped through the skin, right?
Yeah.
So it was this awful just rip. And
Yeah.
my finger has never been the same. I do not for a moment blame the sewing machine manufacturer for me
Right.
doing that. That
Right.
was mine. And now, God bless, I am in no way blaming the family or blaming that young man who chose to do what he did, because I have a nephew who died by suicide. None of this is victim blaming or shaming, but at the
Right.
same time, we have to inform ourselves how these platforms work,
Hmm.
what the incentives are for the companies providing them to us, so that we can then use them in an informed way. And should there be guardrails for, um, age, like age restrictions for using these types of platforms? Quite possibly, yes. However, you go on any alcohol manufacturer's website, there's always a you must be 21 to enter, put in your birth date, and
Anybody can do whatever. Like,
anybody can do whatever, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So we need to talk about it
Hmm.
and we need to be sensitive to it,
Hmm.
but being alarmist and being um sky is falling, chicken little sorts, or, advocating full on censorship, restriction,
Hmm.
when has that ever helped humanity?
It
When
never works.
has, it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Right.
You know what does work? Knowledge,
Knowledge. Yeah.
education. That, I mean, sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent, but that's why books are getting banned left, right,
Hmm.
and center.
Yeah.
Knowledge is literal power.
Hmm.
Education is power. And
Hmm.
so I think if parents, teachers, students are all informed
Right.
how this stuff works,
Yeah.
then they can interact with it in a way that might lead to better outcomes. And similarly, I think it is incumbent on the platforms to understand that people, I mean, a seam ripper is neither good nor bad. Nobody wants to use it. We're all glad we have one. But if
Right.
I were to stab you in the eyeball with it, it is suddenly a weapon.
Yeah. It's,
Similarly,
hmm.
right? Similarly, AI,
Hmm.
the technology, and let's be clear, AI is in every aspect of our lives. There is absolutely not a person on the planet who isn't interacting with AI at least twice, if not 5 to 8 times a day.
Hmm.
And this isn't like the marketing ooh, now with AI. I'm talking about load balancing algorithms for delivering power to your house. I'm
Hmm.
talking about text to speech, like when you tell Siri to add something to your shopping list. Text to speech is a
Right.
type of AI.
Yeah.
Speech to text captioning,
Hmm.
that's AI.
Hmm.
Um, Predictive GPS, that's AI. Weather forecasts, that's AI, right?
Hmm.
Um, so um, I think there is a responsibility on the part of the AI delivery platform to see how people are using it for ill,
Hmm.
and then build roadmaps and feature sets to try and shape how their product is being used.
Hmm.
Um, but AI itself is neutral.
Right.
AI the technology is neither good nor bad. It's how we as people choose to build it and how
Hmm.
we as people choose to use it. And I
Hmm.
believe that education is power and
Hmm.
will help both sides do better,
Yeah.
you know? So that's why I
Yeah.
wrote the book.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think it's just like with anything else, like you were saying, a seam ripper is just a seam ripper, is just a seam ripper until it's not. Words
Exactly.
are just words until they're not.
Exactly.
And it we put meaning on things just like we're talking about, we place meaning on things. And so for some people, AI is evil. And for some people, AI is neutral. They don't give a shit about it one way or the other. And for some
Yeah.
people, it's a life-changing tool. So like I get where the fear comes from. People don't want because people are using it for ill, right? It's
Hmm.
humans making choices because we live in a capitalist society that tells us we have to one up the next, the person who just did
That's how we
something.
win.
We
Yep.
win, we have to be on top all the time. And nobody has the time or the capacity or the capability to always be one upping everybody around them. So, hey, I'm going to use AI to do it. I don't care if
Yeah.
if it makes mistakes. I don't care if it's wrong. I'm going to just do it to get on top. That's not the technology, that's the person using it.
That's the person. Exactly. And I mean, there was just a big thing. Deloitte, the huge consulting firm,
Uh-huh.
just had to pay back part of a $44 million contract to the government of Australia because a report that they had generated after all of this work or whatever, this report that they created and delivered as part of this $44 million contract was full of hallucinations and
Mm.
made up quotes and, citations that just simply did not exist. And it was so clearly generated by AI.
And they didn't fact
And
check it.
they didn't fact check it. And so that's why in the title of my book and everything I talk about, it's part of your process, but it's not the end all be all.
Right.
It should never it is
Yeah.
yet another tool in the tool chain.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
and yeah, and so
Mm.
my heart breaks for and here's the thing, I don't think everybody should use AI
Right.
for everything, but
Right.
my heart breaks for people who are I, I'm reminded of the Salem witch trials and
Yeah.
just because somebody chooses to use AI as part of their creative process doesn't mean they're evil, horrible, terrible, no good, very bad.
Right.
Also, there are so many people saying, ah, that's AI, that's terrible, when in fact it might be somebody's own earnest attempt to create
Right.
with the skill set they have.
Right.
And because so many AI images are generated with weird artifacts and stuff, although they're getting better all the time,
Mm-hmm.
people see those flaws and immediately claim AI. And
Right.
then you're you're demeaning that person's dignity when they were
Right.
expressing themselves,
Right.
and people are are using AI almost as an insult when in fact, let's be honest, you have to think, you have to transform a vision of something you have in your head, a problem that you're trying to solve, something
Mm-hmm.
that you want to express in fabric, a poem
Mm-hmm.
that you're trying to tweak and wordsmith.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you translate all of that, get it into a platform and partner with that platform to get the output that then
Yeah.
you take and create further with.
Yeah.
That takes some skill and talent.
Right. The communication that is required, the communication skills that required to be able to communicate what you want
Mm-hmm.
is that's a whole other thing. Like, and I, I do, yeah, I just want to keep acknowledging that like it is real that people's work is being stolen and regurgitated and reiterated using AI models. But again, it's the people behind it that are doing it. It's not the AI itself. And so to demonize
Exactly.
the thing, it's the same, like you said, it's like censoring books and banning books. It's like people are still going to read those books. Like if you're not taking the opportunity to educate yourself and the person that, you're not taking the opportunity to speak to your child like they are their own human being, their own
Hmm.
person, and teach them about what's going on or why you don't want them engaging with certain content quite yet, then they're going to just find ways to do it anyway behind your back
Yes,
and lead to more
absolutely.
dangerous ramifications. Whereas if you can
Yes.
educate them and have conversations with them at age appropriate levels, this is that. This is if you're
Yeah.
not educating yourself or choosing to learn how something can or maybe just isn't necessary in your life,
Hmm.
like
Because it
and
isn't for everybody.
right, exactly. And
And yeah, and sorry,
no,
but I want to double down on the thing that you mentioned about stealing, right? And
mm,
and that's a big one is AI is theft, AI is terrible, AI is stealing from artists, AI is no good,
right.
evil, very bad. So there's truth to its stealing,
Hmm.
but not all platforms
Hmm.
and less platforms than ever before. And um there has been a lot of progress in both legislation in that
Hmm.
arena as well as compensation models for artists. So,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I would love to take just a moment to address the very real concern around, and it's well founded. I want artists to be compensated.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, quick
Please do.
explainer for your
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah,
So,
please do.
so when people say that AI is stealing, I think some people probably come at it from an informed perspective, and I think others come at it from an emotional perspective. They've seen an artist that whose work they appreciate say that it's stolen their work,
Hmm.
and so they're rightfully outraged because it's
Right.
someone they care about or someone whose work they appreciate.
Hmm.
And early AI models, if you go back, 5 to 7 years when these things weren't necessarily commercialized and consumer facing the way they are now.
Hmm.
Most copyright law around the world, most jurisdictions allow for the use of copyrighted material for the purpose of research and development.
Hmm.
And so a lot of early AI models relied on a database called Lion, Laion,
Okay.
5B, and the 5B stood for 5 billion. And what it was this database, not of finished images. So, not of photograph, like there wasn't a huge Google Drive full of photographs and digital images of artwork.
Hmm.
Instead, it was a URL, some text, and the URL pointed to where an image might be on the internet. So what
Okay.
somebody did is they crawled all of the internet, or a lot of it, probably not
Hmm.
all of it. They crawled the internet and they got images. And so companies like Getty, iStock Photo, Dreamstime, Adobe,
Hmm.
Unsplash, anywhere where there were huge pools of images that were actually what's called an image text pair. So if you go to iStock Photo and you want to find an image of a woman on a phone,
Hmm.
talking on a telephone, you can type that in, and then you can purchase a photograph or a vector image or whatever from Getty.
Right.
Okay. Well, all of them are watermarked until the moment that you purchase them, and then you get the real image, and then the photographer gets some money on the back end from
Right.
Getty. That's how it's all supposed to work. Well, researchers crawled the internet, got all of the watermarked images because those are all freely available.
Hmm.
Those images are image text pairs, meaning that there are keywords attached to those images for
Right.
the purpose of someone like me who wants a picture of a woman on a phone, right?
Hmm.
And that is perfect for artificial intelligence training because it's almost like the CAPTCHA that we do where we click all the boxes where the stoplight is or,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. So it's training, just like we train a small child. This is what a dog looks like. Well,
Hmm.
this is what a woman talking on a telephone looks like. This is
Right.
also what a woman talking on a telephone looks like. This is also.
Hmm.
And so researchers were using this Lion 5B database to understand how do machines learn?
Hmm.
How can I make an algorithm that um, understands what a woman talking on a phone looks like?
Yeah.
When it was research, that was all within the realm of fair use and whatever for most jurisdictions in the world, not all, but a lot.
Right.
The moment that some companies started to monetize the output and didn't retrain the models using images that were procured
Hmm.
from artists directly,
Yeah.
that is the moment when shit started getting incredibly wrong.
Right.
Like that is disenfranchisement. Now, here's the thing. Those images aren't regurgitated. It's not like I, so I made an image one time of Marge Simpson as Marie Antoinette
Mm.
because I could, right?
Hmm.
Because I could.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
5 years ago. I don't do that anymore. I don't choose to use, like Audrey Hepburn or famous people anymore. I
Right.
try to stay away from copyrighted works because I've learned and I know like I now know better, so I'm trying to do better and I try and
Right.
teach that as well. But
Yeah.
there isn't an image of Marge Simpson and Marie Antoinette in that database. However, there are thousands of images of millions, maybe, of Marge Simpson in various, screenshots on the web. There are also artist representations of what Marie Antoinette looked like.
Hmm.
And just like you and I go to a quilt show and we see somebody make a quilt a certain way with certain colors together, like a terrafonin is very different than Mary Fawn's quilt, right?
Yeah.
Two
Hmm.
completely different. And we come away from that having learned something and choosing to experiment in some way. Well,
Yeah.
machine learning has seen a million different pictures of Marge Simpson and thousands of pictures of what Marie Antoinette probably looked like,
Yeah.
and then combines them into an image that has never existed before.
Right.
Now, is that disenfranchising Matt, the creator of The Simpsons? Sort of, because
Yeah.
that is his original idea. That
Hmm.
is his, The Simpsons characters are his. Should he be compensated for me making an image of Marie Antoinette? Maybe. If
Hmm.
he wasn't compensated for the millions of images that were used to make a model that understands who the Simpsons are,
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what's occurred, and this is what people who, because people will reach out to me after our conversation and talk about not supporting AI and whatnot. What people don't understand is we've come a long way from 5 to 7 years ago. Now, there are still platforms that are using the Lion 5B database.
Mm.
And if you are using a platform that uses that database to help generate images,
Hmm.
you need to understand that artists likely were not compensated for the images that are being, that were used to train the models.
Hmm.
You also need to understand that those models used those images solely for pattern recognition. They didn't like take them in and somehow save them. And they aren't referencing those images in real time when you ask them for a mashup like I did.
Right.
But at the same time, if that bothers you, if that is of concern, there are
Hmm.
now other options out there. And we as consumers can help the AI the generative AI industry understand
Yeah.
that this is important to us by choosing platforms that do compensate artists for the works that are used as part of their training data.
Yeah.
And so I do think that there is a problem with the Lion 5B data set being used for commercial purposes. It
Hmm.
is frustrating that that
Hmm.
happened. Um, I will also tell you that I do occasionally still use platforms that leverage the Lion 5B data set. And if somebody comes at me and says, well, are you crediting all of the artists whose work was part of that data set? I'll ask a quilter, do you credit the person who invented the nine patch or the
Hmm.
drunkard's path or monkey wrench or,
Right.
Ohio Star? Do you credit them?
Right.
Even
No.
though those blocks have been riffed on 10 ways to Tuesday, do you credit those people
Hmm.
in your work? Do you
Hmm.
even know who invented the nine patch? Oh, well, that's just a classic block. No, somebody invented it.
Somebody decided
Somebody,
that this is how this block is going to be made, and I'm going to do it.
exactly.
And
Somebody
who is
else
that
named it
person?
nine patch or whatever. Who is it?
Yeah. I
You
don't
know,
know.
if
I-
you come away from QuiltCon having seen Tara Fonen's exhibit and you suddenly have a strong desire to use certain color combinations that you never would have before seeing
Mhm.
that exhibit, and let's say you just do an improv quilt of some kind of your own creation. Now,
Right.
oh, by the way, are you going to credit all of the improv quilters whose quilts you've seen that informed and inspired your ability to make an improv quilt or even know what an improv quilt is? Or earlier, we talked about show and tell. Are
Mhm.
you going to sit there and tell me that every quilt you saw in show and tell at your quilt guild didn't somehow inform fabric choices that you
Mhm.
made the next time you went to pull fabric for a quilt?
Right.
Right? And so it's a slippery slope, folks. If you suddenly want to get on a high horse and say, you're stealing, well, are we though?
Right. Yeah.
Are we though?
Yeah. It is a slippery slope. I'm with you on that because I think that is like a very like good comparison of like, are you going to go back through history and figure out who was the very first person who decided a nine patch was going to exist in quilting? Are you, eh, we don't, who is that person? Do we even
Who
know? I don't
who is
know.
that person? I don't know.
I don't know either. You
And
know,
did the person who created the 16 patch give credit to the 9 patch lady
probably
or
not.
man?
Probably
Right?
not. Yeah.
And it gets really infuriating because even writers,
Yeah.
who like everything that we've observed in the world, every
Hmm.
quilt magazine and quilt book and Instagram like swipe and
Hmm.
Pinterest pin that you've done is informing your next quilt, whether you
Yeah.
realize it or not. And what it is that our brains are pattern recognition and storage machines, right? And
Hmm.
so you walk, like I got to see Bisa Butler's exhibit, and you walk through an exhibit like that, that is gonna inspire you to do and try something. Modern
Hmm.
quilting um, was informed heavily by the quilters of G's Bend because
Yeah.
two magical things happened at the same time. Cameras on phones plus G's Bend's traveling exhibit
Right.
like opened this world for a lot of quilters who didn't want to quilt like our grandmothers,
Right.
but felt that their quilts weren't good enough and then realized, oh, wait, it's just different. It's
Right.
expressive. Look at what these
Mm.
women in this one part of our country were able to do
Hmm.
with whatever they had on hand, right?
Right.
And yet modern quilting was birthed from that type of stuff, and yet
Hmm.
we don't shame ourselves
Right.
or or the people who make modern quilt patterns,
Yeah.
we don't shame them from using this rich tradition and history, you know. I
Right.
mean, think about EQ8. There are thousands and thousands of blocks inside EQ8, but there are pattern creators who every day, twice on Tuesday, are using EQ8 to design their next pattern using blocks that already exist and just putting them together differently or
Right.
using color in a unique way. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's still grandmother's fan, but because they used ombre colors from
Right.
the latest Kona release or what, right?
Right.
It's somehow different, unique, and better.
Mm-hmm.
Or an FPPer who takes a photograph of a famous person that they found on the internet and transforms it into an FPP pattern, right?
Right.
Um, Somehow we don't shame them and we understand that they took information in this
Yeah.
brain, this pattern machine of ours, and then they created something outward. That's how AI works. AI is ginormous pattern machine. The difference is the scale.
Yeah.
It can look at 5 billion images to really get down where a human's eyeballs are versus a fish's eyeballs versus a fox's eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It sees 5 billion images,
Mm-hmm.
but every time it creates something new, it is creating something new,
Mm-hmm.
informed by what it's seen previously, but it is still something new.
Right.
And so I believe that there needs to be regulation. I believe artists whose work is being used should absolutely be compensated. However, I also know that I'll go to Google Images when I'm trying to figure out what a magnolia looks like. I'll search magnolia blossom,
Mm-hmm.
Google, click on images, and I'll look at 50 different pictures of a magnolia blossom without compensating anyone
Right.
before I embark on something. And again, somehow that's okay.
Right. Right. I think because the computer's doing it, it's now assigned this like nefarious meaning, whereas like we're doing it all the time ourselves. And I think that's where people, it's like somebody saying using a machine or a computer to quilt to long arm or using a machine to quilt is that's not handmade. Okay, well try sewing without your hands. Like you can't, it still requires my hands. It still requires my brain, me, my vision, my aesthetic, everything I've seen in my whole entire life to come to
Exactly.
my view on this. And yeah, I'm not going to go through my entire life and go, well, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this, I saw this person, this color, this designer, this piece of art, this trip, this you can't possibly.
You can't possibly.
And I think you're right in the like kind of going back to what you're saying of people nitpicking images of being like accusing the humanness of something of being AI because of the faults. It's like because AI is an accumulation of what humans have put together that we know
E-
machines can do. It can only do as much as us humans can do. It can't
Exactly.
outsmart us because it only knows as much as we know. It can't
Exactly.
outprocess us. It can't outthink us. It can't take over the world
Not yet.
because not yet,
Not yet.
but because it's got the limitations of who made it, who
hmm
designed it, who trained it.
That's the biggest, yes. And that's actually what leads to um, another risk of AI, which is inherent biases that we as people bring to the party, right?
Yeah.
In my book, I have
Mm-hmm.
images, like I did doctor and it was all
Mm-hmm.
men. And then I did nurse and it was a bunch of young, busty, tiny waisted, little
Mm.
cap nurses, right?
Halloween
All
nurses, you
women,
mean?
sexy Halloween nurses.
Sexy Halloween nurse.
So then I simply added mildly, I think I said mildly overweight medical professional,
Mm.
right? Because I am not skinny. I
I'm not
am
either.
representative of a lot of America. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm mildly overweight, right?
Yeah.
You should see the images it generated. Instead of these cute, petite, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hourglass, whatever. It's these,
Impossible. Mm-hmm.
im- you know, people who should be on my 600-pound life, and they're all miserable looking, whereas the other ones are cute and posing.
Yeah. Like, oh, yeah.
Exactly. These other ones, they look miserable. Well, where do you think AI got the ideas from? Image
Gross.
text pairs in
Right.
their training data.
Mm-hmm.
Image text pairs in their training data.
Yeah.
Elementary school teacher, 4 female images.
Mm-hmm.
Professor, 4 older male
Mm-hmm.
images. Rocket scientist, 3 men, and one more that looks slightly like a monkey.
Oh.
Somehow, to an AI, a monkey faced man is more reasonable than a woman
A
of
woman.
color, or just, hey, I'll take a white woman at this point, right? As a
Right.
rocket scientist. Where does that bias come from? It comes
Mm-hmm.
from us.
Right.
And I think some people are really uncomfortable with AI sort of reflecting back at us those biases and those things.
Yeah.
And so it's incumbent upon us as users of AI to understand that those biases exist. And then, like I said, it all depends on where you fall on the ethical spectrum and your understanding of how AI works, um, as to whether or not you choose to use a platform that leverages the Lion 5B data set. But I'll give you some links to
Mm-hmm.
platforms that claim not to, and we only know as much as they're willing, to provide. But
Mm-hmm.
Adobe Firefly, incredibly pricey, but it doesn't use Lion 5B. Getty Images has partnered with a platform and like licensed their catalog to an AI platform, and Getty compensates the photographers and artists who use their product.
Mm-hmm.
Free Pick, they give you access to other platforms, generative AI, but then they have their own models that are based on artwork, and photography that they've paid for. Now,
Okay.
you'll notice a slight quality difference. You'll
Sure.
notice, but instead of 5 billion image text pairs, these platforms are trained on a much smaller data set. And so
Mm.
things are going to look different. You're going to have to work a little bit harder on
Mm-hmm.
the input side to get a solid output on the output side. But again,
Yeah.
it goes back to what's most important to you and what do you want to teach the market.
Mm-hmm.
We saw with Jimmy Kimmel and ABC and Disney
Mm-hmm.
how quickly the market informed, you know,
Yeah.
um, the people in power what we were willing to tolerate,
Right.
and things changed.
Right. Like even Target, people are still boycotting Target and their sales are still down. And it's like, we're telling you we're not okay with this. And they're still pushing forward. They're like, well, we got to figure this out. It's like, well, you're not going to. You did figure it out. You're just not willing to do anything about
And
it.
now look at Spotify,
Right. Yeah.
right? I mean, it that one really frustrates me. Like as a podcaster,
Mm-hmm.
I worry that, our is my podcast being cut with ads for ice,
Yeah.
you know?
I
And
know.
and so do I want to stay on the platform or not? Like, and so as with a lot of things in life, we have to educate ourselves.
Right.
We have to understand, that the rage from artists about AI was true for a very long time, but
Mm-hmm.
we now have new choices. So
Yeah.
maybe take it down a notch and understand how we got here,
Yeah.
reflect on how we ourselves as quilters and artists have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just suddenly think into being myself a New
Right.
York beauty block.
Right.
I didn't just imagine it one day. I learned it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and yeah, even writing,
Yeah.
generative AI being used for writing. Well, guess what? I read Nathaniel Hawthorne. I read Shakespeare. I read The Diary of Anne Frank, which is
Mm-hmm.
more heartbreaking these days than ever before.
Yeah.
Um, I read the writings of all kinds of people, which
Hmm.
all informed how I choose to communicate.
Hmm.
I'm not going to credit them in the patterns I write or the blog posts I write and everything else, you know.
Right. Hmm.
I'm not. And somehow that again, that's okay, but suddenly because a computer can do it at scale, it's somehow less than
Right.
and somehow wrong.
Hmm.
And I'm very frustrated at
Hmm.
the community, you know,
Hmm.
yelling and
At
pointing and
large. Yeah.
saying, witch,
Yeah.
ah, you know?
Hmm. Right. Well, and I mean, it's the same. I think to me, what you touched on the point for me that keeps coming up over and over again, whether it's people saying, social media is so terrible, it's garbage, blah, blah, blah. Like when something mirrors ourselves back at us, we fucking hate that thing, right? It's like when you don't understand why you can't stand a certain person, it's because they're literally showing you the thing that you hate the most about yourself. And instead of being like, oh, they're just reflecting back my behavior, we are like, I hate that person. And it's so easy to do. It's so, so easy to not look at yourself in the mirror and go, who am I as a whole entire being? And why is this one thing bothering me so bad about this person who I don't even know? And um, we take things personally. And again, we're socialized to do so. Well, that person did this, so that must mean that they think I'm stupid. No, you don't know what that person was thinking because you didn't ask them. Hey, this is what I heard in what you said. Is that true? Super simple question, but we're like so scared to say that to
Oh
somebody,
my
right?
God, yes.
Like, I heard you say that you think I'm dumb because I didn't put this thing in the dishwasher this way. Like, what do you mean? No, I don't think you're dumb. I just thought we could make more room if we just moved it. Cool. Well, the way that you said it made me feel like you think I'm stupid. Well, shoot, I'm so
Uh-huh.
sorry. That was never my intention. I don't think you're stupid. It's like, oh, okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. And then that person gets to know more like, oh, maybe I can shift the way I communicate from now on, because if you always assume that somebody has your worst interest in mind, you're always going to hear that. But if you always assume that
Absolutely.
someone does not intend to hurt you with what they're doing, then make asking that question and coming to a place of understanding is so much easier. Whereas, so if you engage with AI with the intention that like this could be a useful tool, then that's what you're going to
Mhm.
find from it. If you
Absolutely.
see it as you know, a
A
weapon
weapon.
against you, then that's what you're going to see. And it's the same thing with
Exactly.
your Instagram, if you all you see is garbage, it's because you keep engaging with garbage. If your Facebook is giving you ads for shit you don't want to see, it's because you click on them and you comment on them to tell the people how mad you are. Well, guess what? Woo, we got engagement from this person. Just like you
We're going to
said,
keep giving them
it's a
rage and
business.
anger. It's a
Exactly.
business. It is a
It's
business.
bait.
It is it is a multi-billion dollar business, and they are going to do whatever they can
Yeah.
to keep you engaged. And guess what?
Yeah.
Anger is an emotion that keeps us engaged. It
Hmm.
absolutely does.
Right.
Anger and fear,
Right.
anger and fear. And yeah, so
Hmm.
I just, I just, I have to keep on remembering that the people who are angry, and I
They're
was thinking
scared.
about something that they're scared
Hmm.
and potentially jealous, right? Like
Yeah.
we talked about before when somebody levels up,
Hmm.
somebody's skill increases in an area,
Hmm.
people seek to diminish, right?
Hmm.
People seek to try and get you back down into the box that you're supposed to be in so that they can feel better about themselves. And
Mm.
I saw that a lot with notes I got about the International Quilt Festival.
Hmm.
Oh, the quilts down there, they look like they were done by AI. I'm sorry.
What do you
What?
mean?
what does that mean? You know?
Because someone's skills are so good and so incredible, and they took the time and effort to put every ounce of their being into that thing that it is the
Exactly.
human equivalent of perfect. That, like, no, you can tell when something, like, people are like,
And
oh,
I'm sorry, but so what?
yeah,
So what if they dreamed up a melting clock tower? I don't know. I'm just making something up.
sure, sure.
Let's say they used AI to generate an image of a clock tower that was melting. That
Hmm.
wasn't a quilt. I'm trying to do something that I know wasn't down at the quilt festival,
Yeah.
you know. So let's say they dreamed that up. They still had to make fabric choices, color choices. They had to cut
Hmm.
out the fabric. They had to place the fabric. They
Placement,
had
yeah.
to decide if they wanted to use every detail of the
Hmm.
image that was generated or not. They had to come up with the idea. Maybe it was a commentary on how fleeting life is, you know,
Right.
or
Yeah,
whatever, right?
sure.
They they then had to quilt it or have it quilted. I and then you're going to sit there and go, "Ah, that looks like that was done by AI."
Right. It's discounting all the humanness again in it, that just because they communicated the image in their head into
Being.
existence, into being in a
Yes,
certain way, does not take away from all of the work that they then put in to make it into something tangible. And so I'm with you on that. And I think you're right. I think that more we educate ourselves, the more we understand about the proper platforms we can use that don't disenfranchise people, and whether or not it even is useful to us. Some of us don't need it. Some of us can find it incredibly useful. Great. Use it how you see fit. And that could include not using it at all. And that's okay. But
exactly.
like, I think this is where also politically, and everything's political. So I hate when people are like, don't bring politics. Everything is political. My existence
Everything.
is political. Yours is political. Whatever. Anyway, I just lost my train of thought. Um, oh, we over police each other. That's where. So
Yes.
I'm not liberal enough. You're not conservative enough. You're not, it's like we get into these like narrow little channels of thinking, like, well, you're not doing it exactly like I want you to, so I'm going to completely disregard you and I'm going to tell you that you're a piece of shit for it. It's like we all
Yes.
have to exist in this thing that we're in right now. We all have
Yep.
to find a way to survive. We all have to find a way to make our lives function. And you have to work within the system you're in. So, no, I'm not going to choose to. I mean, there's lots of things I do that make me uncomfortable all the time, but
Yep.
like, I'm not going to also do something to intentionally make my life harder just because I'm trying
Hmm.
to stick it to the man who doesn't give a shit about me, right? Like
Hmm.
collectively, I think as community, we can do so much. We have so much power. We have
Oh
voice.
my
We
God.
can move mountains together. But the second we
Yes.
turn on each other and start over
Which is,
policing each other is where we
yes,
fall apart. And we see it over and over and over again. And just like the quilt police, you're discouraging people from doing this thing that you love, that you have a perspective on, but you're just one person in this huge machine of the quilting industry.
exactly.
And your
Exactly right.
perspective is not the only perspective. You weren't inspired by only yourself. You saw your
No.
grandmother do it. You saw the women in your neighborhood do it. You saw it at the library hanging because it's a free public art space. You saw it, um,
In a
however
magazine
in magazines.
or like there's a lovely quilt on a bed in Little House on the Prairie or whatever
Yes.
the fuck,
Right.
right?
Right.
And again, like somehow that's okay
Yeah.
that we came to this work
Mm,
with all of this stuff, but
right.
because somebody came at it a different way, some old dude, you know, told a girl not to get complacent in rainy Portland, Oregon, somehow
Right.
my journey isn't valid.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah,
Wild.
that's the one piece. The other piece that I get a lot is environmental
Hmm.
impact. Um,
Right.
and again, a lot of it is rage baiting, news articles. I actually spent 2.5 months researching
Mm,
a lot of the concerns because somebody I really genuinely care about sent me an Instagram post
hmm.
from from somebody that they follow, and it was talking about don't use AI, it's terrible for the environment, and it listed out a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, well, shit, I care about the environment too.
Yeah.
If I am doing something that is gonna be awful, horrible, terrible, no good, and very bad, well then,
Right.
gosh, right?
Right.
And so the truth is, server farms are used as part of building machine learning models. Um, you need super high performance computers to make super high performance calculations.
Hmm.
Um, what I don't think some people realize is that machine learning models are built, trained, and then that stops.
Hmm.
And then it's like a farmer's almanac. A farmer's almanac is published once a year,
Hmm.
and it is based on the history of everything up to that point for the
Hmm.
weather predictions and, all of
Right.
that stuff. It's trained and published. It's put out there. That model
Hmm.
is. It's not continuously trained. It is,
Whirring and spinning. Yeah.
Chat
Hmm.
GPT currently is built on GPT-5. So the
Hmm.
fifth generation of their model was published.
Hmm.
Okay. Guess what else runs on server farms? Everything else. You
Hmm.
book an airline ticket,
Server
it's
farm.
it the whole platform
Right.
that the user interface is built on is running on a server farm. Zoom, the way we're talking, server farm.
Hmm.
Google, server farm.
Right.
Netflix, Amazon, your local quilt shop's website, my website,
Right.
um, server farms. And
Right.
so the thing is, right at the moment, AI is the big buzzword because again, for the first time, really, we are seeing some consumer facing applications that are upending
Hmm.
cherished beliefs about what is human work, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Somehow we came to accept the printing press, which put a lot of print setters out of jobs.
Hmm.
Uh, Modern sewing machines, even a treadle sewing machine, put hand, you know, uh,
Yeah.
makers out of work. Somehow we came to accept that certain tractors versus
Hmm.
oxen versus human beings, right?
Right.
Um, we came to believe that these labor intensive jobs were fully acceptable to be automated because it gets us things faster and cheaper.
Right.
But suddenly thought work and creativity
Hmm.
could be enhanced with, you know, so
Hmm.
so news articles, just like marketers, just like software manufacturers, are all popping AI into everywhere, but it's not just AI living in these server farms.
Right.
It is not just AI. It
Right.
is often a leading factor, a leading, because AI is so ubiquitous, but
Hmm.
it is Microsoft
Hmm.
buying all of the capacity for one of the towers in 3 Mile Island. It is
Hmm.
not AI doing it. It is Microsoft's executives, making that choice.
Making a power
Um,
move.
what was that?
Making a power move.
Literally,
Yeah.
they're restarting a nuclear reactor
Hmm.
that it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Google taking almost all of the water supply of a small town in Oregon,
Hmm.
right, to cool their data centers. Well, they also happen to have Firebase and Google Cloud and other things living in that same data center.
Hmm.
AI is a resident in this digital world. It is not
Right.
the only resident.
Right.
But the thing that AI can do that watching a movie on Netflix can't, it can be part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
right? Every Sunday on my Instagram, well, and Facebook too, but I'm on Instagram a little bit more. I post about good news that AI is doing,
Mm-hmm.
detecting cancer faster, helping fight forest fires before, they get out of control.
Right.
AI-enabled drones are replanting forests in the
Mm-hmm.
Amazon. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that
Yeah.
AI can do with that
Yeah.
same server farm space to help the environment,
Right.
to help humanity in a way that, playing um, some first person, you know,
Right.
multiplayer shoot
Fortnite.
'em up game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Will never
Right.
do.
Yeah.
And yet we rage about this over here,
Mm-hmm.
but
There's
not
all this other stuff
this.
over here.
There's
Yeah.
all this other stuff. Pay no
Yeah.
attention to the man behind the curtain,
Right.
right?
The Great
They
Wizard of
want us
Oz.
angry
Yeah.
at this and not all of this other stuff, just like they want us angry at each other
Right.
rather than,
At
you
them.
know, mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
it keeps
Yeah.
them in power.
Absolutely.
There's
Absolutely.
more power. There's more power in the people than there is in the people in power. It's just that we are so focused on the otherness
Mm-hmm.
of
They've
each other.
constructed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've constructed it so that we're looking at each other instead of looking up at them and
Well,
saying, hey, this is fucked up.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because it is I agree with you. There's power within the people. We have way more power together than they do over us, but we allow them to continue to have power over us. And
It's learned helplessness.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I've talked about it before, but the lack of our ability to take personal responsibility for how we exist in this world and what we do and what we do with what we use and what we engage with is really such it's a problem. And you know how do we fix it? I don't know. I don't have any answers because it just seems to.
You know how we fix it? Literally one step at a time with ourselves. And
Yeah,
that's all we can do.
true.
I
Yeah,
fully cannot make you change any aspect of yourself.
right,
I can
right.
only show you here is what works for me.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah,
have to actively make that choice, right? You have
right.
to do what you can
Yeah.
with what you have,
Mm-hmm.
where you are.
Yeah,
And if enough of us do that, if
yeah.
enough of us are out talking about taking personal responsibility, showing how it shows up for ourselves and that we do it wrong. We
Yeah.
do put in a prompt to take copyrighted material and mash it up with historical figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we know better and we learn and we go, "Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That, you know, we did what we could with
Mm-hmm.
what we knew, and when we know better, we do better."
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we can do. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right
No,
now in
you're right.
Chicago, that's
Yeah.
white people wearing whistles
Mm-hmm.
and going for walks and
Mm-hmm.
helping our neighbors and
Yeah.
friends and coworkers not
Mm-hmm.
get kidnapped in broad daylight
Yeah.
because we go out with whistles and
Yeah.
there's a whole thing here in Chicago right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah. We got to have each other's backs and it starts within us. Like if you're not willing to work on yourself, you're not going to affect any positive change outside of you. And maybe you will because somebody will see you and go, "Woo, I never want to be like that." Or, eh,
Yeah.
it's
Ooh,
it
oh, she is a cautionary tale. Yeah.
yeah, truly.
I am sure that me in all seasons of my life to date
Yeah,
am someone else's cautionary tale. Oh,
truly.
let me tell you about this woman I used to work with in the Bay Area. She was a piece of work, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, truly, like, oh my God. And that's fine. I'm okay with that because then that means that like even if I'm not my best, maybe my worst or maybe what someone views as my worst is still a catalyst for them doing something more positive in their life. Like, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
If they're going to talk crap about me, if they're going to use, okay, I don't have any control over that. And like, I say that, right? But then when it happens, my heart hurts. But also, it's like,
Oh my
okay,
God, right?
you know,
Yes, yes.
and I own that. I own that. I'm saying, yes,
Mhm.
that will hurt my feelings and I will get over it. But
Mhm.
like, yeah, we have to be willing to look at ourselves in the mirror, but also look at each other as mirrors and say, what do I see and why do I see that?
Mhm. And then what
And
is it pointing toward, right?
yes,
What is
yeah,
it pointing toward? Like,
yeah,
if somebody is loud and disruptive and it's frustrating me,
hmm
let's just say that's the example, like out at a coffee shop and they're talking on speakerphone. People, fucking speakerphones are for when you need to have hands-free or
and
whatever.
you're in private.
It is not for talking out in public. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's just say, right, that they're being loud. So first off, Judgy McJudgerson is over here judging
yeah,
them and everything. But at the same time, what is that saying about me? Oh, it's actually aiming me at some values that I must have. I
hmm
value a quiet space. I
hmm
value a third place where I can do some internal processing. Like, what are some of the values that this is
yeah.
pointing at for me? Right?
Right. Right. And you're
Yeah.
centering yourself in that instead of pointing at the other person. I value a place where nobody else is bothering me versus I value a place that's quiet. Those are two
Mhm.
very different statements. And
Two
I,
very different things.
and I,
And
yeah.
one can build your esteem,
hmm
and one is within your control. And the other
hmm
one is most definitely, I can't control if people are going to be loud in a particular place, but get what? Guess what? I can walk my ass up out of that place.
Yeah.
And I can do one of two things. I can either walk over to that person and say, I don't know if you realize how loud you're being.
Right.
And if you do and you're good with that, cool. Then I can
Yeah.
make an informed decision to leave and I'll just leave, or I can just get up and walk out,
Right.
right? But
Right.
those are two choices versus sitting there and just bitching and moaning and complaining and
Right. Like, oh,
fuming and having 97 arguments and making myself better than them,
right.
right? The whole time.
hmm
I can instead go to my car where it's nice
hmm
and quiet and finish my coffee and still siphon the Wi-Fi from the coffee shop for a second before I move on with my day.
Yeah. Yeah. It, and again, you're taking that responsibility on yourself to say, what can I do about my situation in my situation only? Because yeah, you're not gonna, you might be able to go tell that person like, hey man, you're being really loud. And like, I just wasn't
Yeah.
sure if you knew,
Yeah.
like,
And if you know and you don't,
yeah,
then okay.
cool. If you're that
Then
person that can have that confrontation and have it not ruin your day, I'm not that person. Then fine,
yeah.
do that. But like also, yeah, you have it within, you can walk out of that environment. You do not have to be there. Just like he doesn't have to be there, but he is, you don't have
So
to be there.
exactly. And for anybody listening going, well, that's not fair because if you were there first, they should have to leave. Well, guess what?
That's not how
I
life
don't get to
works.
control that. I
No.
don't. You're absolutely right. It isn't fair that they came to my space into my quiet space and got loud. That
But if
isn't
you're
fair.
in a place of public like patronage, then it doesn't belong to
Exactly.
you.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
bel
belong. It belongs to the owners of that business, sort of. If we're gonna get down to it, it belongs to nobody, but like for, all intents and purposes, it belongs to the shop owners. And if they decide that that man is just fine where he's at, then they decide that that man is just fine where he's at. If you take it upon yourself to go speak to that person, then that is on you. You're making that choice. Or if you choose to leave, that's also on you. You all are all choosing to be in a public space that someone has decided to say, this is a business where people can come, and they're the ones who ultimately get to set the rules within the laws of whatever
Yeah,
space
exactly.
place you're in, which we could spiral about that forever.
Forever.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just interesting it's just interesting to move through the world. Like I used to be on the judgment side of things, and now that I live in the curiosity side more often,
Mm.
it's very interesting. It's very entertaining more than it is frustrating. And don't get me wrong, I still get super fucking frustrated. I'm a ragey driver. I don't drive crazy, but I will I'm flipping people off more often than I'm not while I'm driving, but you would never know it because I do it like down low where nobody can see it because I just need
Under
to like "Ugh," and then I just keep driving. But like I know that that's about me, right? I know it's
right.
literally
It's about
that
lack of
person did not get
control.
in my way on purpose. They're going somewhere
Exactly.
too. And just because I decided my trip is more important than theirs, now I'm mad. I made
Well,
myself mad.
exactly. And your CPTSD sort of got the
Mm,
wheel for a second because, hey, guess what?
yeah.
They are not within your locus of control. There is
Yeah.
absolutely nothing you can do about how they choose to change lanes.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing you can do if they suddenly choose to drive 2 miles under the speed limit and it's a no passing zone,
Yeah.
right?
Sure, for sure, for
Hi,
sure.
CPTSD
Yeah.
triggers all of these memories of other times in my life when I
Yeah.
wasn't in control, and it
Yeah.
does it subconsciously, but little old thing the size of my thumb says
Mm-hmm.
I'm in danger.
Yikes. Red
I
alert.
need to get out. Red alert. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly adrenaline is going and rage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
pew, pew, pew,
Yeah.
pew starts happening.
Yeah. And it's that fuel of like, I need to get, I'm trapped, I need to get out, where it's like, no, I'm literally in a vehicle, like a big vehicle, and I need to be careful and I need to calm down because it is my job to keep myself safe in this
Yeah,
situation.
exactly.
It's all it boils down to.
All it
It's
boils down to.
so crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for sharing all that about AI. I know it's like such a hot button right now, and I know
Mhm.
I don't know, but I could imagine that some people are going to have some comments, and that's okay. Like we're here to talk about it, and that's why
Absolutely.
you and I are having this conversation so we can talk about it more and be more informed and
Exactly. And I am not here to say that it is the end all be all. Everybody should use it. It's perfect, good, and you're dumb if you're not using it.
right.
The fact is, we are using AI literally every day, especially if, you use GPS, you look at a
Hmm.
weather forecast,
Yeah.
you need to just make informed choices when it comes to this one sliver of a
Hmm.
much broader industry,
Yeah.
generative AI.
Hmm.
What are you okay with? What are you not okay with? And then remember that those are your choices.
Right.
Those are your choices, but I get to make different ones and I'm allowed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, do you have a tip or a piece of advice that you would like to leave for the listeners?
Yeah. I think probably my biggest aha moment in quilting came when I was needing to unsew a block
Hmm.
long ago. I no longer call it ripping out a seam. I had to unsew what I
Yeah,
sewed.
yeah.
And I was hard on myself and I was frustrated. And someone said to me, Teresa, the seam ripper was invented so much farther back than when you started sewing. You are not the first person to have made a mistake while quilting. It is
Yes.
perfectly okay. And so if you ever are getting down on yourself about, trying a new technique and all of that, do not be afraid to suck at something new. It is okay. It is okay.
Yes.
There you go.
Perfect. No, I love that. And it is for perfectionism junkies like me. It is a reminder I have to tell myself every day, like, you're just a person. If I'm trying something new, I'm not going to be good immediately, which is so annoying. but then we just move on, right? So,
Hmm.
and we
Yeah,
learn the
don't
skill
be
or we
afraid
don't.
to suck at something new.
Yeah,
Exactly. And if that doesn't help, just look at a seam ripper. This thing was invented so long ago. None of us know who did it. Wikipedia probably does. But
sure.
you are not the first person to need one,
Right,
obviously.
right,
Get over yourself. It's okay.
right. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, get over yourself. You're not so special that you're never going to make a mistake. And we're making quilts in this day, the year of our Lord 2025, because someone, thousands and thousands of someones before us fucked up and tried again. And then they invented a
exactly.
tool to make the process easier.
Exactly right.
Thank you to all
Exactly
of
right.
them.
Thank you to every one of them. Thank you to the inventor of
Nine
the
patch.
nine patch,
Yes,
whoever that was.
whoever you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like as a gratitude to the people before me, I'm going to put my pride aside, get over myself, and I'm going to work through this problem and figure this out so that I can,
Exactly.
one, make heirlooms for my family,
Hmm.
two, do something I really love to do, and three, hopefully encourage others to continue on this path so that we can continue making quilting a part of our history. It's a part of our past, it's a part of our present, and it's going to be a part of our future, and it's going to be
Absolutely.
future history. So, like, we got
Exactly.
to keep moving forward
Gotta
and
keep,
not be so
we all
precious about
need
it.
comfort.
Hmm.
We all need art. We all
Hmm.
need, yeah, don't be so precious about it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you again so much for being here
Thank
with me
you.
today. And I'm so excited for people to hear about this and check out your book, Digital Muse, and
Thank you.
learn more about how AI can benefit us and give us, another tool in our tool belt of things that we can use to progress our craft and our art
Art.
forward.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
well,
Thank
thank
you.
you, and
Thank you
we
so
will
much for having me.
stay in touch.
Stay in touch.